Jacob Turner, a dark designer, showed up at his new position, prepared to lead a earth-shattering venture, yet when a bigot cop destroyed his work license, the official had no clue about who Jacob really was or the figuring that looked for him. What occurred next will leave you stunned. We should start. Jacob Turner ventured without hesitation into the glass-board hall of bright core advances, the morning sun shining off his tail charcoal suit. At 32 he conveyed the made disposition out of somebody who had contended energetically for each accomplishment. His short and tidy hair, managed facial hair, and clean dark Oxfords projected a proficient picture, yet underneath his outward quiet he was loaded up with a sense of when. This was his second, following quite a while of climbing the professional bureaucracy and exploring the challenges that accompanied being one of the couple of dark specialists in his field. He got a senior part driving a project ready to alter green innovation outside official Rick Saunders inclined nonchalantly against his watch vehicle, a clipboard in one hand and a quality of expert in his position. Rick's eyes followed everything Jacob might do, as though surveying an interloper. The official had been dispatched to the region over a minor stopping debate, however, waited, guaranteeing the road as an expansion of his space. His grin enlarged when Jacob halted a couple of feet away, uninformed about the investigation venturing into his smooth calfskin portfolio. Jacob recovered his work grant, a regulatory necessity, from his new exchange from London. Unfurling the archive, he looked at the building's entry, anxious to start his day. The stir of the paper got Rick's consideration, quickly taking advantage of the opportunity. The official walked over, his boots crunching against the asphalt. "Excuse me, Sir," Rick said, his voice held up with loftiness. "What are you doing here?" Jacob looked into his temple, wrinkling somewhat. "I work here," he said tranquilly, holding out his work license. "First day." Rick grabbed the paper, his lips twisting into a sneer as he inspected it. "Looks like this is messed up," he mumbled, his tone dramatic. Before Jacob could answer, Rick tore the record into two, allowing the parts of float to the ground. Jacob fixed his voice, estimated, in spite of the stir of feelings inside that was superfluous. Rick scoffed. "What are you going to do about it?" Jacob adapted. "To assemble the parts, you'll see." Before long enough he stood, his unflinching look locking with Rick, setting the stage for what was to come. The bright core workplaces hummed with movement as representatives spilled toward the glass walled gathering room, mumbling about the exceptionally expected declaration. Smooth screens flashed with the organization's logo, and the air murmured with the weak aroma of espresso and cleaned steel. Everybody was anxious to meet the new overseer of cutting-edge designing, a job supposed to initiate a notable green innovation drive. Jacob Turner strode through the entryway with reason, his work license flawlessly re-established, and got into his satchel. He conducted himself with calm certainty, his presence emanating authority. Associates stopped to look at him, detecting the energy he brought. Wearing a similar custom-made suit he had Warned that morning, Jacob felt a restored assurance to claim his spot in the organization. Inside the meeting room, Rick Saunders lingered close to the back wall. Arms collapsed conceitedly. A companion from the security group had nonchalantly referenced the meeting, and Rick considered it to be a reason to wait, actually replaying his prior communication with Jacob. The prospect of the specialist bumbling with organization carried a tricky smile to his face. The prattle stopped as the chief, a dainty lady with sharp elements and an unquestionable quality of power, ventured onto the stage. The room's lighting mellowed, highlighting her as she changed the receiver. "Great morning, everybody," she started, her voice unmistakable and directing. "It's my distinction to present a pioneer whose vision will shape Brick's future. Kindly welcome Jacob Turner, our new overseer of cutting-edge designing." A staggered quietness cleared the room. Rick's smile froze, his certainty vanishing as Jacob climbed the stage. The man Rick had ridiculed and embarrassed only hours sooner presently stood tall under the spotlight, shaking the chief's hand with balance. His profound voice conveyed across the room as he started his location, easily ordering consideration. Jacob's look cleared across the crowd until it arrived on Rick. Their eyes met, and at that time the implicit was clear. Jacob's quiet, piercing look didn't boast or sneer, it just guaranteed results. Rick's face flushed, his swagger breaking under the heaviness of Jacob's quiet affirmation of force. The tide had moved, and Rick knew it later. The gathering, the meeting room, gradually discharged as representatives scattered with mumble of fervor about their new chief. Rick Saunders floated close, the leave his typical priggishness supplanted by an disquiet he couldn't exactly shake. He kept away from eye-to-eye connection, wanting to get out inconspicuous before anybody associated him to the days sooner occasions. Jacob Turner anyway had other plans. With estimated advances he drew closer. Rick, a weak yet undeniable grin playing all the rage. Rick froze as Jacob halted before him, his forcing presence ruling out. "Get away from official Saunders," Jacob started equitably, his tone quiet however firm. "Delighted in the show." Rick constrained a chuckle, his anxiety obvious look about prior. "I didn't realize that I was your new manager," Jacob interposed flawlessly, his appearance solidifying. "You didn't have to know. What you did was off base, straightforward, and presently it's on record." Rick's face depleted of variety. "Record," he repeated, his voice floundering. Jacob gestured, his look steadfast. "Splendid. Center's security cameras got the whole communication," he said, his voice consistent yet edged with steel. "Each word, each activity. Your explicit maltreatment of force didn't go inconspicuous. I previously sent the recording to both the organization's consistence group. What's more, the police division's oversight panel." Rick's level-headedness disintegrated, his prior grandiosity supplanted by apparent alarm. "Listen, man, I was simply," he floundered, looking for an exit from the corner he had maneuvered himself into. "Saving yourself," Jacob polished briskly, removing him. His penetrating look appeared to strip away Rick safeguards you made presumptions. Dependent exclusively upon the shade of my skin. What's more, you obliterated an authoritative record. That is not simply dishonest, it's crook. Rick stammered his words, a knot of expressions of remorse and pardons. Jacob lifted a hand, quieting him. This isn't Private Official Saunders, he said, his voice quiet yet unflinching. It's about responsibility, and it's time you face the results of your activities. Jacob dismissed and strolled. Rick's remaining solitary is to leave. Certainty broke interestingly. Rick felt the heaviness of what he had done. What's more, the retribution that looked for him, the aftermath, was quick and conclusive. Inside days of the occurrence, Rick Saunders was suspended from obligation as the police office sent off a formal examination film of his activities, joined with Jacob's itemized report. Pretty much ruled out uncertainty about his maltreatment of force. Expression of the occurrence spread rapidly among Rick's partners, discoloring his notoriety. Some communicated dissatisfaction, while others considered it to be an unavoidable outcome of conduct long left uncontrolled. In the meantime, Jacob Turner's quiet treatment of the circumstance raised his remaining at Bright Core innovations. He turned into an image of amazing skill and strength, epitomizing the upsides of trustworthiness and constancy. Representatives who had been roused by his vision for the organization's future currently respected his capacity to explore affliction with elegance. For Jacob, anyway, the episode was less about justification and more about foundational responsibility, a stage toward making a more attractive working environment and local area. Weeks after the fact, Rick showed up at Bright COR's workplaces for a compulsory intervention meeting, a state of his downgrade and continuous sensi ity preparing. Gone was the haughty certainty that had once characterized him. He strolled into the meeting room wearing a repressed articulation, his look bringing down as Jacob entered. Formed and deliberate, Jacob sat down across from Rick, his attitude proficient, however firm. After a snapshot of quiet, he talked. I need to make one point clear, he made, his eyes meeting Rick's. I don't need to see you bomb, I need to see you change. Rick's shoulders drooped and he gestured gradually, his voice low and filled with disgrace. I'll improve, he mumbled. I have to. Jacob broadened a hand across the table. Great, he said immovably, in light of the fact that that is what genuine authority is about, development and responsibility. Rick delayed, then gotten a handle on Jacob's hand. It was a snapshot of uncomfortable comprehension, an opportunity for the two men to push ahead from the occurrence in various, however significant ways. As Rick left, Jacob turned back to his work, his emphasis on what's in store. While the past couldn't be scattered, its illustrations waited, molding their ways in ways neither had expected. For Jacob, it was an indication of the force of strength. For Rick, it was an opportunity to reclassify himself.